Welcome to Command Control Power, the longest-running Apple consulting podcast. For over a decade, we've delivered weekly episodes filled with epic tech support stories, troubleshooting insights, discussions about managing clients and businesses, and interviews with industry colleagues and vendors, all tailored for our pro listeners. We also offer exclusive content through Patreon. This private podcast feed is designed specifically for IT professionals, providing valuable advice and guidance on tackling the more complex aspects of running your practice, working with clients and employees, and managing device fleets. With a modest monthly contribution, you'll gain access to a wealth of advanced Apple expertise, meaningful connections, and a community driven by a shared passion for Apple technology. Visit commandcontrolpower.com and click support to learn more.
Command Control Power is brought to you commercial-free thanks to the support of our incredible community. We extend a special thank you to our VIP Premier partners, Adigy, the leading Apple device management platform, Tidbits Content Network, Cirrus Partners, and Alectrona, the makers of Patch. We truly appreciate our VIP supporters and all of our patrons for making this show possible. Thank you.
And now, on to the show.
Welcome to another fine edition of Command Control Power. Hi, guys.
Hello. Got a little quorum going here, Joe. A quorum.
That's right. I guess that's what you call it. Yeah. What do you guys want to talk about? I have the Backblaze recap that I stunk up the Backblaze channel with recently. Also been implementing the new version of Alectrona patch. Very happy with the changes there, improvements, very well thought out.
I definitely want to hear about both those things because I haven't implemented Alectrona patch yet. So I'm glad to have someone with some experience on that front. But I know the Backblaze thing is top of mind.
Yeah.
Before you go into that joke, let me
ahead,
just
Jay.
interject and speak to the mass audience that's out there. We normally try not to get too specific and speak a little bit more broadly about topics. At this point, this seems like a pretty broad topic.
Yeah.
And that's normally because we don't want to date the show. And if a problem gets resolved down the road, it's not relevant by the time the listener listens to it. But I think there's so much happening here in the Backblaze world that this deserves mention, even if it does get resolved on the short term.
Yeah, it's a series of things that have happened over the last several months. So correct me if I've got any of this wrong, but here's my kind of scathing just recap in the Backblaze channel on Mac Admin Slack. I start by saying it's painfully obvious lately that Backblaze needs to holistically review their communications and quality assurance. And here's why. So first, months ago, they released an update that basically stopped auto updates. Like I think that was a known issue that essentially it stopped updating on its own for a while, at least like several months. I was notified by that in Watchman monitoring. It was indicating that Backblaze was out of date. Usually it auto updates. It just never did. I let it go until finally just creating a remediation. Luckily, most, if not all of my Backblaze clients are under our managed services plan. And so I was able to send out basically a script that said, if you see the old version, go ahead and update to the new version. So no sooner did I do that than the next item on my list comes up, which is that they released an update that stopped the backups from working. It displayed a message to the user about the BZ file IDs.dat file, indicated a support link that didn't help. It was confusing our end users. The remediation there was basically to revert to a prior version of Backblaze. So here we are with a situation where it stops updating, I don't know, get it to update, and then the solution is to actually go backwards to a previous version to get it to continue backing up. So that was a huge debacle. They pulled the update. I'm not even sure. I think right now it's still in beta as we record, the version that's going to come out to fix that. That was just bad enough, the fact that it stopped backing up and gave users spun the gears for a lot of our users, and also caused us to have to spend a lot of time trying to remediate that and figure out what was going on. Meanwhile, they had identified account credentials that were compromised. So they sent out a message to their end users saying, we require you to change your password. That's good if indeed those credentials were compromised. But then in the midst of that, they sent another round of emails that, yeah, I mean, that part, okay, so one good thing, right?
Credentials compromised. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's good that they like let
work.
people know, right? Yeah. And those credentials, that happens. People reuse passwords and they get compromised. They end up in a list of on the dark web or whatever of user passwords, known passwords. Backblaze detects that. They send out a notification to users. That's all fine. But then they sent out a notification saying that to another round of users, and the terminology in the email was basically saying that your password has been compromised. And many of those users seem to like get up in arms about this because they know for a fact that they were using a secure auto-generated password that was not reused for anything else. And therefore, if that had been compromised, as Backblaze seemed to indicate or imply, at least in this message, I think they indicated it outright, then that would seem to point to Backblaze as being the source of that compromise. So does that mean that Backblaze infrastructure has been hacked? What's going on? So people were freaking out. There was a lot of kind of back and forth emails from Backblaze or communications from them, only to then say, we were incorrect in our messaging. We sent out this email to people that didn't have MFA enabled, where we wanted to recommend that they implement MFA on their account. However, our communications left a lot to be desired. It was like that kind of style of walking things back, indicating that your stuff wasn't compromised, but we still want you to use MFA, but we said the wrong thing. So there's no problem here. But of course, now they've introduced a lot of doubt and uncertainty. So now we're like, were you compromised? Would you tell us if you were? Like, why did you say that these credentials were compromised? A lot of user confusion and security doubts and just a breach of trust, basically, if nothing else. It's eroding the trust in the platform. And of course, this platform is entrusted to store immense amounts of personal data. So it's not the kind of thing you want to just have a little bit of a seat of the pants style communication about, we're compromised, we're not compromised, it's fine, don't worry, it's all good, nothing to see here. So and the only thing I saw on that was actually posted on Reddit. I'm not sure if they followed up to those users and clarified by email. Let's assume they did, but this got on my radar through seeing some of these posts on Reddit. Then, as of
I just interject
last
here.
week, yeah, go ahead.
One of the reasons why we're complaining and we're saying there's lack of consistency is there's no consistent form of communication. So we're getting some, as you mentioned, you're getting some information off of Reddit. Right. We as subscribers and with many people that we're managing who are using Backblaze, we're not getting messages as maybe call ourselves team leaders or something like that. And secondarily, there is a Slack channel, there is a Backblaze channel in Slack, and we seem to have random people from their company respond. One person's a coder, and most recently we got a response from somebody who's a marketing professional for the last 14 years with Blaze. So there's an inconsistency, and the people who are paying the bills, which is us, not to mention the extra work that is created for us, there's no communication. We're finding out these problems by discovery for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like we feel like we're crowdsourcing solutions. You know, that asterisk on that, Backblaze is not alone. I feel like we were crowdsourcing solutions to like the latest round of macOS update trouble. This is something we've been talking about on the show for 10 years now, probably 5 years at least, to be fair. So it's cool that we're engaged with the companies directly. I'm glad that they know that we're out here and communicate with us, that they have a presence on the Mac admin Slack and other channels. But it just feels like a lot of this stuff, those two examples, all about Backblaze and about the Mac OS updates, which maybe we'll get to, those things should be caught in QA. These are multi-million or multi-trillion-dollar companies. Like, we should not be like doing QA and being like, hey, your update stopped backup from working. That's the service you provide.
Yeah, it's the
like,
only
why
thing
am I
do.
the one to point that out? Yeah, it's your one job to use that turn of phrase. Yeah. So the final thing on this is that Backblaze sent an email to group managers, business group managers, about how some users have this version of Backblaze. They were not rolled back to the prior version that works. They're still on a version that's not backing up, and they're probably seeing a message on their screen about how it's not working. And Backblaze sent the message to the group manager, whatever they call it, saying, hey, your group, you know, such and such company, XYZ, has some Macs that are not backing up. They include Jim's Mac and Jane's Mac and whatever. And here's the instructions to fix it. All good so far. That sounds great. Here's the instructions. Update to the beta, which We're talking about backup software. It shouldn't be going out to the public to say update to the beta. It should be, don't let this happen. If it happens, fix it quickly without needing to send out the beta. This should have already been beta tested, and now the public release is out and it just updates automatically, ideally, or worst case, send the link to update to the released version. But don't tell my users to upgrade to a beta. Don't tell me that I have to upgrade my users to the beta. You can dispute that. Maybe other people have different opinions. But the one thing that I flagged about this was that 2 of our colleagues indicated that they had received this email mentioning one business group, but mentioning computers in a different business group.
That's
so now we're like,
crazy, by
isn't
the
that
way.
insane? So
I just can't even believe, like, you're in charge of protecting the people's data, and now you're just inadvertently sharing information, identity information about another client to one. It's just asinine. It's crazy.
I know. And to be fair, okay, so I'm the business manager of 10 different groups in Backblaze or whatever. So I have access to computers from A, B, C, D, whatever. It's not like you're sharing information out of turn with me, but it just looks sloppy. Like the fact that you'd mention one group and mention different computers, I might forward that email in theory to like the point of contact at the client, but it's a good thing I didn't because it mentions people that are not related to their company. That would be a huge red flag if my client said, hey, thanks for the heads up, but these aren't my computers. And for all I know, my clients who are also like administrators of a business group at their own location, I hope they're not seeing mentions. They might have gotten an email about this, and I'm hoping that they didn't receive a mention of another client of mine. But where is that stream getting crossed? Like, where is that information getting jumbled? So the takeaway from all of this is what a mess. It just seems like their communications are all over the place. Jerry said you've got something on Reddit, something through email, something in the Mac admin Slack. The email's going out to end users just to look at that in particular. That's a huge jumbled mess. And the fact that they've had false starts with updates that break updates, updates that break backups, and the solution being beta updates it just doesn't give me, as Sam would say, the warm and fuzzies about Backblaze when you want to be able to rely on your backup company. So in conclusion, I'm sticking with Backblaze because I've been using them for 10 years. It would be very hard to switch to another provider in the midst of all of this. And
what is the term? Like the devil that you know?
Exactly. I don't know what else to do, but it's just, I had to flag this as this does not look right. Get your stuff together, guys.
Apologies to people who aren't using Backblaze, who we're devoting a section of the show to this particular problem, but we manage these groups, these business groups where we have computers underneath these business groups. We, as the super admin, let's call ourselves, we can't log in and determine anything from the control panel, from the dashboard of if there's success or failure here. Have you seen any evidence of that, guys?
It's a good question. I know you can see like alerts. Does the alert indicate that it's not backing up?
I think a lot of these machines are silently failing.
Yeah, I wonder about that too. I'll tell you, like I've shared this on a previous show about one of these issues hitting close to home, my parents' home, on a Mac that I set up for them last December, and set up Backblaze from scratch, let it do its little scan, and I walked away. And then months later, my dad's, this Backblaze isn't backing up or whatever. I'm like, really? So I look in Watchmen, it's like green check mark. I've already told this story, and all clear from Watchmen's perspective, which is not Backblaze's fault, obviously. But if you look more closely, it's selected for backup 0 bytes. So Watchmen's like, you told us to back up 0 bytes. We're doing every bit of that. It's like nothing to complain about. So my dad had to flag the fact that it's popping up on his Mac, my mom and dad's Mac, saying Backblaze is not backing up. And in his case, it wasn't the BZ file IDs issue. It was the fact that the startup disk is adding itself to the time machine destinations. That's an Apple bug. That shouldn't be possible. You can't back up your startup disk to itself. Doesn't make any sense. That shouldn't happen. And I removed it once. I'm 99.999% sure that I already removed it, because that would have been really dumb if I thought I fixed it and I hadn't. And it happened again. Last time I was talking about something else, he said, this Backblaze message is back up. And I went in, and sure enough, the startup disk was in time machine preferences, which means that Backblaze says, we can't back that up. It's your time machine destination. So not their fault, but how did that happen? Thanks to Apple. And to Jerry's point, I don't know if that's indicated anywhere on my side. I certainly wasn't on my radar.
I think we got a new bingo card tile.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sam?
Let's throw
Joe
it in
talking about his parents' Backblaze backup, backing to time machine.
Yeah. Well, I
We
mean,
do.
It's relevant, right? It's relevant, but
talk
I'd
about
like
an
to see
edge
it added.
case. And again, if it was a client machine, like I'd feel like a real doofus, like, hey, we've got all your stuff under control. And then they're having to tell me that it's not backing up. Yikes.
And in a lot of cases, Backblaze, their solution is start with a clean slate. You just got to nuke whatever they've got up there in the cloud and start over.
Yeah.
So there goes your 1 year retention out the window. If you know that free
Good point.
option of the, I'm most offended by the lack of communication, getting a marketing person to communicate with us on Slack. And there's just not enough, we're not providing enough pushback to them. We're not making enough noise. You put that post out there, Joe, you hung yourself out to dry, and nobody gave you an attaboy except me. I gave you a sound effect.
You gave me a boom. Yeah.
Boom. Yeah.
I'll have to add my.
But triple hearts for Joe for doing this. Where are these people in the, we can fix this chain of command at Backblaze? Or is everything outsourced and it's just these emails going back and forth and everybody's completely fragmented workforce? And it's like Apple was when Gil Amelio was in charge, where this department wouldn't talk to that department. Is it like that over there? That, oh, we did this update, and then some other guys say, oh, the update broke.
Yeah.
Breaks the backup. So it's really sad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to I don't want to put someone's head on a platter necessarily, but you got to wonder personnel wise what's been going on there. Has a new head of a department been introduced and they're just not doing their job, or do we have some bad engineers? I just don't know what's happening, but something has happened because it's all very recent. All these issues are within a close timeline. So something has happened at Backblaze to cause this cascading effect of issues.
Every other vendor does and blame Apple. Oh, it's Apple's updates that broke our system. We had everything great, and it was Apple's fault.
Here's something interesting. If you go to Backblaze, has an investor relations page, and why invest? They have greater than 500,000 customers. They have more than $137 million in annual recurring revenue, 22% year-over-year growth for B2 cloud storage, 123% B2 cloud storage NRR. I thought that was really amazing. Actually, I have no idea what NRR is or what that significance is of that, but 123% of it. So that's a high number. But $137 million of annual recurring revenue. Pretty nice chunk of change. They're a publicly traded company now. Again, public relations is a big part of being a public company, and not stumbling through rounds of updates and crowdsourcing your QA to your IT professionals on the outside for free. I'm with Sam. I don't want to put somebody's head on a platter, but my main point in writing one man's perspective on this, my little recap of this is what I recall from the last few months, just off the top of my head. It just seems like it's just a jumbled mess. I hate to say it that way, but it's like they're operating like a scrappy upstart or something. And they're a mature company that's publicly traded, making millions of dollars every year. They need to have better QA than to release an update that breaks updates, release an update that breaks backups, poor communications with end users, making people worry that your systems are compromised and they're not going to trust you with their data. Their stockholders should be worried about that if no one else. So
you did a John Gruber on them.
Yeah.
John Gruber complaining about Apple Intelligence.
Yeah. No more Mr. Nice Guy. I'm so glad he finally posted that, because we've all been complaining about Apple Intelligence, but it seems to have catalyzed we can talk about this more openly now. Everybody's on board with that.
By the way,
let's talk about Apple.
Right before the show started, I typed in blaze.com and it did a redirect to Dolly Drive. I don't know if that's an indicator of problems, but that's what's happening over here at
Dolly Drive
headquarters.
Company. Nice, yeah. Backblaze, a Dolly Drive company.
Yeah, they switched to Cloud Miros. That's why.
That was it. That's where they went wrong. Yeah.
Never gets old.
Never gets old.
Some things just never get old.
I wonder, somebody should live check. Is that still on their site? To imagine
I'm
like they
sure.
haven't updated
It's a
that
bingo
typo
card
in
slot
5
for
years.
sure.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
So Apple drove me a little crazy recently too, because I was reading about 15.4 came out, fixing bugs. It's a necessary update, but people were having trouble updating from 15.3.1 to 15.4. So I deferred that a few weeks, and I don't like to have to do that. I can't fine grain control, figure out which machines can qualify for this and won't have a problem and leave my users in a non-booting state, and which machines are okay and whatever. So I deferred that, hoping that would be fixed eventually, or hoping for more feedback from colleagues. In the meantime, we're doing Sequoia upgrades as well for some machines that are still running Sonoma. And I wasn't aware that actually the upgrade was broken for certain machines. So this timeline is interesting here, because I just did a round of updates like 2 days ago, or upgrades to 15.4, or attempted to, and found that 3 M1 iMacs would not upgrade no matter what to 15.4 from 14.7.5.
Can you mention that you couldn't do this before on the network, but you had one of your team members go down and redo the network, and now you got a really good connection?
Yeah, in fact, this client, I had issues with this client where I couldn't maintain a connection using live desktop, I think because of latency and slow speeds and just intermittent slowness and things. So live desktop will sometimes just crap out because screen sharing is, I'm not getting data fast enough, disconnected. That was because of their old network hardware. So I had one of my team members.
Arachnus.
Yeah, they were using Arachnus, exactly. So arachnophobia, is that what we're calling it? Yeah. So Jerry went out there on site, upgraded to Unify, and I gave him the feedback a couple days, or just yesterday, that the network connection is stable. I can maintain live desktop connections to all these Macs now, whereas it was problematic before.
So this is a hooray for Jerry story.
Yeah, hooray for Jerry story. That's right.
But
bingo.
So there you are, happy as a lark. You get this great connectivity, and what happens?
Yeah, downloading updates. Okay, so first I started using Adigy, their 15.4 public software installer that they packaged for us. It's a great feature that they have this whole public software catalog. So I have a policy with that updater in it. You just add the Macs to the policy, the updates download in the background, and then they prompt the end user, which in this case is me. I'm connected remotely using screen sharing, live desktop, another great feature of Adigy. And I get the prompt, I click the thing, put the password in, and it says, okay, preparing, and it gives you like a timeline. So fine, you wait, the machines go offline because they're restarting, you wait a little longer, they report back online in Adigy, you jump in and you say, okay, let's see how we're doing here. I refresh, it still shows 14.7.5. That's weird. I connect, and okay, I'm at the login window, I log in. Nothing has changed. In fact, it displays a message that the computer restarted because of a problem. So the first one I think is a fluke. The second one is what's going on here. Third one, okay, we got a real problem. And so I tried it again, because this is what I do. I just tried the same exact method again. Like
that's what I did.
Its approach. Okay, so I just tried the same thing, and they got the same exact results. So I'm like, let me try this 5 more times. No, I did. The third time I tried it with, I'm like, forget about the Adigy public software thing, just in case. Let me try it the Apple method. So clean as can be, straightforward method. Apple system settings, software update. It shows 15.4. I click upgrade, put in the password, download, prepare, restart. I come back, connect through live desktop again, same exact result. Your Mac has restarted because of a problem. On the first line of that, if you click on the show details to see the report, it's a panic log, and it shows can't ignore lock validation. Now, Apple should have known that it wouldn't be able to ignore lock validation, I think. I have no idea what lock validation is, but you'd think Apple should know that you really should never expect the machine to ignore lock validation.
I can't ignore it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's the last thing I would expect. Sam, Mr. Apple, what is lock validation? Can I put you on the spot as he takes a drink of water?
And is this going to be on the test?
Notice how I was taking a drink as you were asking me that.
Yes.
Like,
oh, is this going to be on the test, or do we have to ask Craig?
Yeah. So does anyone know what lock validation is? Because I don't. Apple didn't offer anything in the Mac admin Slack, but
no, suspected it had to do something with the volume ownership or something, but I'm not 100% sure.
That sounds plausible. These machines didn't have File Vault. They did have whatever secure token, bootstrap token. The user that was logged in successfully authenticated, like clearly something behind the scenes there. So Apple had us crowdsource this. So I had this issue happen. Of course, I turned to Slack. I go into the macOS Sequoia channel, and sure enough, I find multiple threads on it. One thread that has like hundreds of posts on it, and that a lot of people crowdsourcing a solution. And Apple engineers asking for specific like log captures and things to help diagnose the problem. And that's the beauty of our modern world of crowdsourcing. But again, Apple has a multi-trillion-dollar level of resources. One would think that they would catch something like this in quality assurance testing, which is part of their workflow. Now, this only affected the M1 series of processors. In all three cases that I experienced, it was the M1 iMac. Other people mentioned like an M1 MacBook Pro. Okay, it's an edge case in that it's a 4-year-old processor, but it's fully supported. Apple Silicon is still great hardware. This is not like an edge case in that sense. This is hardware that Apple supports and should be quality assurance testing with it. My opinion is if I see it, it's pretty widespread, because I see a lot of issues that clients report to me because they Googled something and they're like, oh, all these people are having this issue. I'm like, I haven't seen it among hundreds of clients. So like, it's not an issue really. I see people on Slack talk about issues that I never encounter. But if I encountered this issue, it should not have been that hard for Apple to reproduce it.
That's the crazy part about this. Right? It's like, come on, do you really not test this against an M1? Are you serious? Okay, I can understand maybe an Intel was not thought of, right? But like an M1 computer, Apple Silicon, how could you not see that this happened?
Craig Federighi pulled them off of their projects and off of their jobs to put more people in Apple AI. So they've allocated resources. So they have less people in quality assurance now.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened. From what I've been hearing for years, the Mac OS team, the operating systems teams in general, that's where they really need more resources. And quality assurance being, I don't know if it's like underneath those engineers or what, or among the same staff members, but that seemed like it's needed more resources for years now. And to their credit, they've been making a lot of progress in lots of areas, but this basic stuff of like updates, you want us to stay up to date. You want to send out prompts to your users to update. You now want to enroll everyone in automatic updates. That's a feature of 15.4, is that now we're just going to opt in, and you can try to opt out of automatic updates. They'll probably opt you back in another future update. I understand Apple's playbook, and I'm not even criticizing it. Like, you need to stay up to date for security, but like, then please don't mess up updates. Is that too much to ask?
Apparently it is. Yeah.
So, Mike Kingsley in the chat, the Kingsley Mac, says that even though the upgrade from 14 is only on the M1 series, the other issue of unknown error of even updating from 15.3 to 15.4 is happening on other machines also. Exactly. So to clarify that point, the update issue to 15.4 in that case was problematic on a whole series of machines. I think some people thought Intel at one point, and I think it's like a mix of different circumstances. And last thing from Mike, he says he'd guess about 5% of his fleet just happened on an M3 Mac. So Jerry, have you seen that issue with like your auto updates or just manual updates and things for clients?
To be completely honest with you, I may not have seen it, but I haven't been looking for it. Talking about quality assurance, and not to derail this particular thread, but there was something that I posted about several weeks ago on ACN Slack about when Apple upgraded to the latest round of public releases. And we're not talking about beta here. There's an embedded font, or several embedded fonts, but I encountered one myself because my wife does graphics work, and it won't display in Safari. It won't display in Preview. But yet, if you look at it in another browser, or you send it to somebody on another computer with a different operating system, they can read the fonts. So the fonts are there, just the embedded properties. I'm not a computer scientist, so I don't pretend to be one. Yeah. So I was roasted because I mentioned that I've been using the developer beta on my own machine that I use on a day-to-day basis. And I was roasted, but this is our show, so no one can roast me. No. And I can tell you that right now, I'm on the latest developer beta, which is like 15.5, and the font is still not visible.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is always a gray area
Wow.
because technically if you're on a developer beta, there you probably do have some kind of NDA in place. And here we are talking publicly, but it's the question of,
Oh, there you go, Joe.
referring,
You're like,
I'm roasting you, Jerry,
you're
but
roasting me on my own show.
I'm just saying the argument could be made, okay, this is what you're not supposed to talk about it. But the spirit of the thing, really, you can't mention the fact that this beta exists in the first place and happens to have the font issue. That's not proprietary info. Like, I see where you're coming from. Like, why would anyone roast you for that?
Yeah, and my point is here is that they must have quite a long list of fixes that they need to resolve. And I'm sure this has been reported. I reported it. I sent them examples through developer feedback. So it's all been documented. I never heard back, of course. Okay. But it just echoes the sentiment that you're saying here, Joe, of just these things are not caught and they just go out. Just ship it. Always be shipping.
Yeah, exactly. I was a skeptic a number of years ago when, what was the article? Was it Howard Oakley who wrote this article about Apple core rot? No, I don't want to misattribute this. There was somebody who wrote this article called Apple core rot, or referring to Apple core rot in the sense of this kind of trend of Apple's where they're aspects of the Mac OS and different software is like being neglected or allowed to have more bugs than they ever really did. I remember the days where I feel like it was so solid. Like you couldn't get into this situation where like the user interface would be in a weird state. You know what I mean? It was like always a known state, whether it was, there just weren't edge cases that would come up. And lately, in the last several years, there's more and more of these just like buggy things that happen where it's just, okay, I'll do yet another restart. Maybe that'll fix it. And then I'll try a different series of steps to avoid getting into that weird situation. iCloud stuff, it happens all the time. When I'm enabling advanced data protection in iCloud, they will prompt you to add a recovery contact. It's a very well thought out like system, but the way these prompts appear on screen, you get stuck where there's windows layered on top of windows that shouldn't be there and like a spinning thing that never goes away. And then you add the recovery contact and then it's like, you have to add a recovery contact, and you try to do it. And it's like, you've already added a recovery contact. I'm like, you told me to add I know I already added it, but you
and
told
then
me to add it again. Yeah.
Particularly since this has happened to me too. And I look back and now there's two of my wife there.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Two instances of it.
And then it's like, you have to add at least one recovery contact. Then then they're shown there and you're like, what do you want me to do here? Click that? No, it's just indicating what's there. So you're telling me I have to add another one? No, you don't have to add another one, but it's just like a UI state that it's not right. There's a timing, you know what it is. It's just a mess.
There's so many things that we encounter on a daily basis that they just pass by your screen and you just move on with your day.
Oh yeah,
but
I don't flag it anymore.
You casually mentioned to me in a text that you lost a couple of emails for send later, right?
Oh man, that was terrible. I had a Wi-Fi issue. This happens all the time. I go out to grab a coffee like once a week and do a little admin there in a coffee shop for a couple hours. They were having issues with their Wi-Fi, like 2 different occasions at the same location. It's a unified network. I don't know. I could probably help them with it. But anyway, there were instances where it's not connected, or it's just my machine's issue where I'm not getting the CAPTCHA or the captive portal page or whatever. So it's not fully connected. It thinks it's connected, whatever. So there's been twice now where I've clicked send and I'm offline and it didn't know that I was offline or something. And it tried to send and it gives me the little error and I click edit message and then the message appears and it's empty. Or like it thinks it goes out, but it never ends up in sent and it's certainly not in drafts and it's not in my outbox nowhere and it never got sent. Right. And twice that happened where it was just, I lost the email. That should never happen.
And it's always something that you really toiled with and worked hard to get the email just right.
I'm like, I want to throw in the towel right here. I don't want to redo this email. I'm ready to give this whole thing up because this is so frustrating that I spent my time writing this email and trusting that the built-in mail app, fully up to date on my Mac, it's a brand new MacBook Pro. It's like I've given Apple all my money and I've given them all my trust in their software and it lost my data. And there's no backup. I'm writing an email. I'm not backing it up. And even if a lot of the way, sometimes I will save it as a draft, but I'm pretty sure the mail app helpfully removes it from the drafts at once it sends it or thinks it sends it. But I remember a time when that had never, ever happened to me. I never lost an email, and it happened twice in the last like 2 weeks. It's just, again, should never happen. Anyway, I could rant all day about quality assurance, but it's a neglected area for a lot of these companies, and it's not right.
Yeah, so many, like I said, so many things that we don't even take time to even jot them down and say, oh, I'm going to talk about this on the show, because there's so many and you're just trying to get on with your day. And it's just very frustrating stuff that gets in your way. And you can't imagine how your clients feel. Like we always say, we do this for a living, and sometimes we don't even know why these things happen. How do you, you just cross your fingers that your client won't ask you why this happens? Because
Exactly, because I can't explain it, and then that's eroding their trust. If I say, "Oh, I don't know, this crap happens all the time," no, that's great. Oh, I've seen this before. What? Like this? It used to be where, I don't know. It felt like it was way more reliable up to about 5 years ago, and they started to change how the software update mechanism works, and MDM was changing, and then updates would come out that would break things, and then they'd roll it back and then release a new one. And we're not even surprised when that happens anymore. We're just like, all right, let us know when you have a working update. Like that should not be. This is a multi-trillion-dollar. I know it's not throw money at the problem. That doesn't fix every problem, but it's not that's not the constraint here. Money is not the problem here. Like clearly, probably, all right, here's my soapbox. Probably the issue is education, and like science and technology education, and like onboarding enough engineers in the pipeline 20 years ago. I've been complaining about the state of our education for a long time, having gone through it myself, just feeling this is not the way to get people to know how to think and to be like intelligent humans that can, you need an educated populace to have a democracy, and we have the democracy, and we really don't have the level of educated populace that you need. And fast forward to today, and what do you know?
Just take a look around.
Take a look around.
And then the immediate problem too is, if you think about it, is that we draw from this international pool of people, very talented people from all over the world.
Not
and
anymore.
with the unlikelihood now of them coming to the United States to be here and work, this spells trouble on the near horizon very quickly.
Totally. Absolutely. And if we're starting to see this kind of degradation in the quality of service from Apple of all companies, that's like a canary in the coal mine. It doesn't bode well. And it's not the kind of problem that you can fix overnight. Hey, maybe AI will fix it. Maybe you suddenly onboard a bunch of mediocre, like entry-level coders and you give them like a really good AI tool. And in all seriousness, like maybe that does help. So I'm not ruling out like the success of our little endeavor over here, but I think that, major changes are needed, because this just stuff shouldn't happen. And it's too bad that Apple of all companies can't quite get their stuff together to fix that. Hopefully they will.
On a brighter note, our good friends over at Alectrona, Patch, just released a new way for you to use their service. So for the people that aren't familiar, tell them what Patch is, if you don't mind, Joe. I'll put you on
Patch is fantastic
spot here, and how it used to work, and now what you can do to make it work a different way.
Alectrona Patch 3.0 came out, and I didn't even know we were expecting this feature, but just boom, the feature drops, and it is now an app. It has an option to live in the menu bar and also put notifications about updates in Notification Center. So the old methodology was a custom, dialog box, little mini small window in the middle of the screen, or you can choose where it would appear. And it was very easily customizable with your company logo. It would show the logo of the app that needed the update, and it would, let you customize the text and the help text and all the different features. Really easy. You don't have to customize anything if you don't want, but it was super simple to say, add my icon as a little overlay to the application icon that's being updated. I want the text to say update now or update later or whatever. So I did all that. It's been great. No complaints, although some clients will say, what's that thing? Is that you? And some of them will say, hey, this thing happened. I was in the middle of working. It's, yeah, listen, it's the balance here. Like, we need you to see the update and to take action. We don't want to bother you, but we can't let you just ignore this forever. So we're trying to find the balance here. But really, there's no major complaints, just that people will like flag it and be like, what is this thing? And then some clients, I love, this is a side point. Tim mentioned this to me yesterday. Some clients will say, yeah, so I noticed that thing, that new thing patch they're referring to, that new update thing, and I didn't see any email about it from you. And I'm like, Tim, the same people that are complaining that they didn't get an email where I said, hey, look, you're going to look for this, just so you're aware, here's this thing. The same people would completely ignore that email if I did send it out.
That's
right. Or it's one more email. Like, they're going to say, why are you emailing me? Don't bother me. So it's just, you really can't win with this. I just thought that was a funny anecdote. Like, some people are like, oh, I wish you had told me. And other people are like, why are you bothering me? You know,
what I love is the other response where they just take the window and they drag it to the corner of their screen.
Totally.
So there's only just a little edge sticking out and they can't see it.
Exactly.
That,
and then the next time,
to me, is
I
just,
love that.
Yeah, it capsulizes it's just so moronic.
I know.
I can't tell you how much that annoys me.
But I also get it. It just shows that if they would read it, they could just click later and then it's gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Or if they would read it, it would say, oh, actually, yeah, I do want to do that thing. Or would I click, okay, fine. Maybe it's from Adigy, whatever. Adigy remembers the location. So what'll happen is they drag it off, out of sight, out of mind. Eventually it times out, it goes away. The next time you need to notify them about something else, the window pops up in the same location. So it's just the edge. That. Yeah. Unless you can reset it, I think. I probably have it in some of my scripts or whatever. So it pops up and it's off screen. Now they're not going to see it for sure. But it's their approach to dealing with this, which is they never read anything that pops up. They just don't read it. Half of our job is reading it and interpreting what it means for them.
But if you sent them that email.
Yeah. Then they definitely read that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So anyway, so that's the old method with Patch, which is the little pop-up. It's a custom thing. Now, if you want to have it go into Notification Center, so you can send the notifications into Notification Center so that they'll play along with the system notifications in all the fancy ways, like they'll respect do not disturb by default. You can allow the user, or you can choose banners versus alerts, like an alert that's going to just pop up and what's an alert? Does the alert go away and then the banner stays, or vice versa? I forget the Notification Center has these terminology where it could be like ephemeral or it could be static or whatever.
It's on the test, Joe. It's on the test.
Yeah, I know. I should really know that. But so then they get the notification. You can customize. Is it one per app? Or is it just one digest of here's 5 apps that need updates? That's a nice feature as well. You click the notification and it brings up the new Alectrona patch menu bar app, like basically pop over kind of thing, or panel from your menu bar. And this is a really nice customizable thing. You can put your own icon in the menu bar. It's going to have a little green check mark if everything's up to date, or it's going to tell you if there's updates available. You see you click it, or you click the notification and you see the series of updates. You can click update all, or you can update one by one. You can click on history. This is a great feature. You can see the history right there. So if I'm on a client machine, I can show them how to just look that up. And if they ask me, oh, I saw a pop-up, what was that about? Was that you? I'll go in and say, oh yeah, it looks like we updated your Zoom yesterday at 8:45 in the morning or whatever. It's right there in the history. It's a great feature. And lastly, you can click Get Help. And so in the Help menu, you can add your own custom button text and URLs. So I have replaced my Watchman monitoring contact menu. So Jerry, you can see I'm slowly migrating away from Watchman, slowly being the operative word. But I was using the kicking and screaming the whole way, dragging my feet.
Cold dead hands, Watchman.
Right.
My cold dead hands.
But I had my little Watchman contact menu there, and it had email SIMAC or contact SIMAC or whatever, download SOS for our Splashtop link, whatever. So I've just simply taken those two. Those are the only 2 options we were actually using in Watchman for our clients. And some of them do know to look for that and click download SOS or whatever if they need help. So I've just taken those 2 things and put them in my patch menu bar app under the help button so that I can walk people through it if I need to basically just click on get help and then click on contact SIMAC or download SOS. And that's how they know how to reach us in the future. I even put our little emojis there so that it spruces up the little look of that help panel as well. A little email icon and a little SOS icon for that one. So yeah, it really easy to customize that. Took a couple hours to test it and iterate on that, and I'm really happy with the result.
Different strokes for different folks. And sometimes I measure the value of something by how much I use it. So I'm not a big fan of Apple notifications.
Yeah.
Occasionally it pops up on my screen, but most of the time it doesn't. And then when I go up there, I just have a slew of notifications, historical
Oh yeah.
from maybe an hour ago or yesterday, and I just clear them all out and I
Yep.
go on with my day. So I don't conceptually, I understand the reasoning for it and it sounds like a good idea, but
Right.
I don't know how terrific that idea is. And
Yeah.
on the reverse side of this, I've been using Patch, we'll call it Classic, the original implementation of Patch, where users, like you said, get a pop-up on their screen and they could defer, they could perform the update then. And I like that, and I'll tell you why. Because I've been using, from the folks at Rooted Consulting, I've been
Yeah.
using the free support app, which puts a little MacWorks menu bar item in there and replaces what Watchman was doing for me when I was using Watchman. And I needed, that was one of the things that I really didn't want to lose. But I have users that the very first time you click on it, the notification, the support app, it gives you a banner and then it advances you to the screen that you've set up.
Okay.
I've gone to clients, or I've remoted into clients where I've clicked on my little, and for me, it's just like a little first aid bag.
Okay.
And I've clicked on it and I've seen that they've never even clicked on it once.
Yeah.
So
That's the
I
first
think
click. Yeah.
yeah. So I think there's a case to be made for, and I'm not referring to what they've done here, but there's a lot of, I was going to use another word, but there's a lot of activity up in the menu bar. And for the most
Yeah.
part, I feel like client engagement for a lot of that is and it was 20% of all my clients engage with the menu bar. So
Yeah.
I prefer the classic version of Alectrona Patch. And for me, that's what I'm going to use, and I'm not going to change. And you can't make
Yeah.
me.
Wow. So this is one example counter to the usual where I'm on the leading edge of something and you're kicking and screaming about hanging on to the old method.
Yeah.
Tim Pearson just gave us a little quick update just to clarify. It's Root 3, not Rooted, for the, what is it, the support app? So I didn't realize that. So thanks, Tim, for that.
Bless you, Tim.
Yeah.
If I do Google searches while I'm recording the show, it just makes more noise on the keyboard and you get a noisier recording. So I gave up on that.
You have enough noise from me doing
Yeah, I have enough
Google searches
extraneous noise with viola playing in the background and all kinds of things.
Really? Nice.
Cats
Okay.
crying and
Cats crying.
yeah.
Oh man.
Black cat moans.
That's a very fair perspective, which is, I like I said, what it wasn't broke, so why fix it? It was working for me. I had no idea to expect that this was an update, but I liked the idea of using the built-in notification center, because I actually think that centralizing that is probably a better idea than maintaining a lot of different types of pop-ups for different things. Like I've already got the custom one in Adigy, which pops up, hey, you haven't restarted in 10 days, that custom thing that I made called Command Control Power, restart Mac per best practice. There's also the prompts that I have for software updates to Mac OS that come from Adigy. So that's one style of pop-up. Then you've got this patch style of pop-up as well, which was working fine, but it's different looks and different scopes. I like the idea of moving it into the kind of built-in system provided notification facility, which is the notification center. I agree with you though that most people most people have a pile of stale notifications there. That's how just like you, that's how I roll. I barely use them and I can't keep up, and I find myself, it's like Apple gave me like a new daily task to do, which is go through and clean up my notifications because there's so freaking many of them.
You can bet most people don't.
I would agree
By the way,
with that.
Yeah. By the way, Tim Pearson, Backblaze called. They'd like you to reach out to them and schedule a call to help make their product better. Can you do that for them, please? Maybe you got some good suggestions. Yeah.
Mike Kingsley's asking if we could speak to Apple's notification center. And this is a very good point, maybe more to your side of things, Jerry, that people will miss those notifications if they're on Do Not Disturb. Now, technically, like we're respecting Do Not Disturb even with the regular patch notifications. So to me, I didn't see a difference either way. I should not be disturbing my users if they have Do Not Disturb on. That's my general vibe. That said, we do need to find that balance between allowing people to skate by and not be bothered bothered versus, sorry, we have to bother you. We really do need to update this thing because it's for your own security and that's what you're hiring us for. You can handle this with patch by having a certain like deferral limit where at a certain point, you just have to update. They're going to quit the app and update it, whether you like it or not. That's the setting you've chosen to allow only a certain number of deferrals. There's also whether to count like the timeout as a deferral or whether to count the do not disturb, like suppression of the notification as a deferral versus just don't count it, just try again later. So that's the best you can do. You have to try to find the balance for your users. I don't see how this changes things. I'm not sure if I'm missing something, Mike, but I believe that the notification center by default will respect do not disturb or other focus modes where you've set not to be disturbed by certain apps and things, and just simply not show the notifications. I don't know if we're going to need to ask Alectrona for a balanced, like maybe a way to show an old-fashioned Jerry classic alert if the notification center one gets ignored for too long. Or the other thing about it is like, if the app is closed, it'll just update it. So that's the other thing I really like about Patch is that if they're not running the app right now, it'll just update it in the background. No problem. It won't even bother them. It will show in the history in the new menu there, which is great. Basically, they don't even need to know that it's been updated and problem solved. So another thing you can do, I've thought about doing this too, is you can write a script that like in Adigy will check to see if like Patch has deferred too many times, check the log, whatever, and quit those apps, like maybe send a different prompt to the user, whether they have do not disturb on or off, and offer to quit all the apps that they've deferred and just update all at once kind of things. There's different creative ways you can work around that, but yeah. Jerry, this is for you. Benjamin Morales is saying that it's liberating to hear Jerry say that he doesn't think notifications are good because he's felt guilty for not staying on top of all the notifications, but F that. It's a notifications problem, not a me problem. I agree. Exactly. Right. Why should I feel bad that I've got these red badges on everything and I've got this stack of notifications when it's like I go there now and I see, oh, a package was delivered 3 days ago. I know that. It's in my house now. But I do want to be notified, but I shouldn't feel bad that I didn't dismiss the notification. So anyway, he's validating that.
Thank you,
thing, Jerry.
Benjamin. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, I want to feel good about myself when I'm on my computer, not bad.
Exactly.
It's like garbage, old garbage that you haven't emptied out yet. Yeah. In an ideal world, Benjamin goes on to say, we cut people off from resources based on risk. So if somebody's unpatched, they lose access to important services until they update. It gives them a value proposition. It's a great point.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you've hired me to ensure that you're secure, and this is what I need to do to ensure that. So
that's right. If
you're not going to be compliant, then you probably at some point should not have access to the things that might be at risk if you stay out of compliance like that. Yeah. So that's the downside. It's the consequence you have to probably put in place for them. Jerry, right. Did you want to bring us around to a lighter note now?
Yeah, we always end on a light note, and I'm not sure this is a light note for me, but it's a light note for everybody else. And against my wife's better judgment, my wife said to me, don't tell anybody this happened.
I'm glad you're telling this story. Yes, awesome.
Yeah. All and right. Too bad Sam's not here, but this is why Sam has to tune in and listen to the show when he's not here. So I have gone to this customer's site before, and it's a very good client of Joe's, and Joe was very nice to sub me out for this. And it's in a very, I wouldn't call it a posh section of Connecticut, but it's very rural, but a little bit more upscale rural. And this place, a business I've been to, and they were doing some upgrades, and we had a problem, and we won't go into it, with unified meshing that was all solved by some dodgy access points that needed to be replaced.
Yeah.
So all that work was done. Yep. But when I had to show up there, I had to bring my own ladder, because a lot of times when you go to some of these establishments, they don't have a ladder, so that's not a problem. And I had multiple bags. I had a bag with Ethernet wires. I had my cable tester bag, which is separate. I had my technician's bag, which has like scissors and zip ties and all that other stuff. And I had my regular MacWorks bag that carries my laptop. Winding up the appointment, I was taking multiple trips out to the car, and I inadvertently brought my computer bag. And I said to myself, oh, that's okay. I'll just carry it out freestyle to the parking lot. And no, I didn't drop it. That's not where we're headed here. But I loaded up the car, went back on my computer, said my goodbyes, and started to head out. And when I was getting into my car, I had another bag with me. I put the computer on top of the car, put the bag in the car, closed the trunk, got in my car and drove away.
Oh.
Drove up about a mile up the road, stopped for a $8 egg and cheese sandwich
And that's
and
the
a $4
non-ritzy
coffee.
part. Yeah, non-ritzy Connecticut pricing.
See, for
there.
me, that's a lot of money, though.
I
It's
know,
12
I know.
bucks for.
Yeah.
So
for
what would
breakfast.
be the ritzy part of Connecticut? What would
That's
that
what I'm
cost me?
saying. I think that would be like 15 plus for a breakfast sandwich and a coffee. It's
So I go into the establishment, order my stuff, bring it out. I'm going to eat and drive, drink my coffee. And I drive about 3 miles down the road and I get a pop-up on my, it was on my phone that from Find My that the MacBook Air has been left somewhere.
Oh man.
So I'm thinking like it's back at the job site. So I turn around and I start looking at the map and that's not the job site. So it's 3 miles from where I was, 3 miles, mind you. And I'm in like rural Connecticut where the cell signal is not great all the time. So maybe I would have gotten a warning a little bit sooner. So I drive, long story short, I drive back. There it is lying in the middle of the road. I didn't hear this thing fall off my car. This is like after I got the egg sandwich and just drove down the highway.
You were hungry.
And it's like, and it's not like a super highway. It's 2 lane, 1 lane in either direction, regular state road. Okay. I've got my MacBook Air in a clear plastic case and my car is silver. My MacBook Air is silver. Yeah. So I'm trying to justify reasons why I didn't see it on top of my car, but I didn't see it twice. I didn't see it leaving the job, and I didn't see it after I got my egg and coffee.
Right. It's so thin. It's like this thin. That's why.
And it just took off. It must have just flown off the side of the car. I think it fell off, not shot down the back, but went off the side.
Off the side.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So there it was dead in the road, and I opened up the lid, and of course it didn't boot, and had to send it out to Depot. Like they were champs. They got it. Yeah. I sent it out on a Friday. They don't have to work on a Saturday or Sunday. They got it on Monday. They fixed it on Monday. I had it on Tuesday.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. And it was
I have to say, that's
3 bills. That's impressive
for that. Yeah.
Because they did not replace the logic board. Everything was replaced. Top case, bottom case, screen. Bottom case had no serial number now. But logic board was intact, but my data was gone, of course, but I had backups. And that's the other thing I wanted to leave us with was with your help, Joe, because I haven't done this like very often, recover from my Synology time machine backup, which was interesting. But that took a dedicated, I have roughly around 600 gigabytes, 650, somewhere around there. That took 12 hours, 14 hours to get back on my computer.
And that's like over your network, like you're at home, it's wired in over a gigabit Ethernet. Like, you're not messing around. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And that was stored on like I mentioned, a Synology. And just one other point is when the computer came back, I had to do an M4 to M3 transfer with my cables that I mentioned. That took less than 40 minutes for that same amount of data.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, clearly there's no question between going like SSD to SSD over Thunderbolt. That's insanely fast. That's really good. I'll migrate client machines remotely with no cables, just over Wi-Fi. It oftentimes uses the peer-to-peer connection. It's fast enough. It's like it's a few hours.
6 to 8 hours I've seen. Like for the amount of data that I had, 650 gigs could take peer-to-peer, could take, depending.
Yeah, I think you're about right on that, I would say, from my experience. But yeah, Synology, it takes a lot longer for some reason. And I don't know if it's useful if people are sitting there scribbling their notes, but I have my little Synology recipe in case it's helpful, because it doesn't work out of the box, basically. Like you can't just Creation Assistant. You can't do it from, from Setup Assistant. You can't do it from even using my normal method of just make a temp user, open Migration Assistant, and then select your Synology, which is hosting time machine backups. It actually appears as an option, but I've had that fail like 90% of the time. So the steps that I found that are pretty reliable for me, and it sounds like it worked for you. So step 1 is on the Synology control panel, you go to hardware and power, and you go to HDD hibernation and set the time time to the maximum. It's usually 4 hours or something like that. So you set that to just essentially not time out while it's waiting for the Mac to calculate the data or whatever's happening. You don't want the drives to spin down for some reason, even though it seems like that shouldn't cause a problem. I've had that. That setting has helped me. Restart the Synology just for good measure. It's usually a good idea to do that. Also, probably to free up if the backup thinks it's in use or whatever. So you're getting a fresh restart. If you happen to have the old Mac that's backing up to the Synology and it hasn't flown off your vehicle at 60 miles an hour and it's just sitting there in your home or office or whatever, you want to basically remove the Time Machine destination from Time Machine settings on that Mac. So you can't just turn off Time Machine, because Apple has gotten really clever about how this works. SMB allows them to have a stateless connection or whatever. So like the Time Machine backup destination is like still like it's holding on to that Synology like connection, even if you just turn off Time Machine and stop backing up. So you actually have to remove the destination so that it doesn't try to reconnect even after a restart. Okay, so then you configure the temp user on the Mac, like my normal recipe. You get to your desktop, you update the Mac, whatever. Now here's where it gets interesting with the Synology. You connect to the Synology in the Finder using connect to server, and you use the SMB:/IP address of the Synology. So that's how you connect to the Synology with your user account there on the Synology. You then go into the volume, like the shared volume of Time Machine backups, and you double click on the backup volume for the computer in question. So the sparse image, sparse bundle or whatever. So you double click on the sparse bundle. Now you wait. Looks like nothing's happening. Did I think I double clicked it? Maybe I didn't click fast enough. This is all what's going through your head. You just keep waiting. And eventually, I don't know what this was for you, but it's like minutes later, right? That will now mount. So you'll see the little Time Machine backups disk image basically mounted now. Yeah. So you have that. Then you open Migration Assistant, you select that backup. So it's going to show Jerry's Mac like with the little Time Machine icon on it already. You don't select the Synology because the Synology is going to show as an option, but I've just found every single time that doesn't work. So you select the already mounted backup volume essentially as your source. And then you proceed as normal. Again, following my normal recipe, you want to let that calculate before you even proceed from there. So you want to see the total to transfer before you do anything else.
You don't want to advance. And the other thing is that it takes a moment for it to actually show up in the window. Even though you've mounted it on the desktop, you've kicked off Migration Assistant, it won't show up. There was a moment there where I'm like, oh man.
Yep.
What do I do now? But I have other backups. I got Backblaze, right? So that we've come full circle. I didn't have to
full
worry.
Circle. Yeah.
I'm sure I've got some reliable data on Backblaze right now. I know I can sleep at night with that.
And if you don't have your Backblaze backup, maybe someone else out there has access to it for all we know. Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to share was that the new machine that I got as a temporary stopgap while I was waiting for this one to be repaired from Depot, that new machine was a M4 and I have an M3 with 24 gigs of RAM. I was working on an M4 with 16 gigs of RAM and there was virtually no difference. Maybe just a little tiny bit, but the leap from just day-to-day use, M3 to M4 did not make a huge difference.
Interesting. That's good anecdote. I want to circle back to one thing, which is Apple's Depot has been great. That's an amazing turnaround, like from Friday to Tuesday. You don't count Saturday and Sunday. Shipping alone, it's impressive that it's like it gets there by Monday. They turn it around the same day. That's pretty awesome. And then you get
Texas
back on
to
Tuesday.
Connecticut.
Yeah, exactly. That's really fast shipping as well. So I got to give credit to like Apple's Repair Depot. They've always been really good and reliable. So I know we gave them a lot of crap earlier about their OS updates and things, but hardware repairs has been really reliable. What's the other thing I wanted to say? You said it was 3 miles away by the time you got the alert from Find My. Now, if you're going 60 miles an hour, that's 3 minutes. That's not so bad when you think about it. No, honestly.
I probably wasn't going 60. I wasn't on I don't drive like you, Joe.
Oh, yeah. You said you were on a state road or whatever. I thought you were on the highway.
Yeah, I was probably going 45, and that probably lessened the impact. By the way, Benjamin Morales says, Find My saves my butt regularly. Still. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing was when I wanted to pinpoint, let me finish what he says. Yeah. Still, moral of the story is, that you need to get me some MacWorks branded Milwaukee pack-out gear.
Yeah, somebody needs to get Jerry some MacWorks branded Milwaukee pack-out gear. I don't know the
Maybe
I know the brand Milwaukee, but yeah.
sponsor the show.
Sponsor. That'd be great.
To actually to pinpoint that location, it was best to kick over to the watch. And the watch gave it to me within feet. For some reason, I wasn't getting a read from on my screen in my car, but the watch was a little bit more accurate when I was within 50 feet of it.
Interesting.
So that was helpful too.
Yeah, that's good to know. We had to do this recently with Ashley's AirPods. She was saying, I don't know where they are. I know they're nearby. We did find they're in the house somewhere or outside the house or that kind of thing. And so then she's playing the sound, right? And it's, we hear it, but I can't tell where that sound is coming from. I can never tell. So we're just both putting our ears.
Interject. Yeah, you go to Tool concerts where you blow out your hearing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you wouldn't expect much, Joe.
No, exactly. I'm like, I think I heard the sound, and then we're putting our heads like, is it behind the sofa? Is it under? So I said, wait a minute, you can tap the locate thing and you can actually point your phone. It'll tell you if you're getting closer, warmer, colder kind of thing. And so we're like, it's near here. Where does it indicate? Oh, I think it's in the hallway outside. Well, where is it? It's not in the hallway. It's in her shoes, in the shoe cubby outside the door. She must have dropped it in her shoe somehow.
Cute.
But that thing, I remembered the locate thing, which is really because it'll tell you like the direction that it's in. Because sometimes it's not enough just to know it's like in the same room. It's like, where is it exactly? So that's really useful.
Before we leave, I just want to say, I remember this happening to a client of mine, and I was thinking to myself, oh, wow. But again, my wife figures I tell you everybody, and they're going to think cognitive loss looking at me, but no one listens to the show anyway. So I'm happy to share it with you guys and gals, but I'm not necessarily sure I would share this with my clients. It just might be something but it'll be our little secret here on the show.
Yeah.
Unless you want to write anonymously, find out who some of my clients are, and then reverse engineer and say,
you know what I would
like to do a much better job for you.
I'd like to invite our colleagues to chime in and raise their hand and say, the same thing happened to me. Because there's people out there. I told a story about spilling tea on my keyboard that happened a few months ago. We've all been there. I've actually, at my first job in this industry, I tripped over a power cord in the days before MagSafe, and it was the old little barrel connector in the PowerBook G4. It did some damage. I think it damaged the port because it landed like on the plug. So this happens to all of us, is my point. And if you want to just chime in and say, Jerry, you're not alone, and here's my story, and you could share it anonymously or not, we'd love to welcome your feedback and hear more about it.
And also, if somebody hired you to do this job, don't you think they're partially responsible to pay for the new computer?
I personally don't think so, but nobody told you to put your laptop on the roof of the car. That was your first mistake. Oh, I'll just keep it. That's like my clients who like to keep their important files in the trash temporarily.
Get it out of your system.
I'll just put it in the trash for now. That's what they say to themselves. I'll just put it on the roof of the car for now. It's a parallel story there. No, listen, I've been there too, man. I spent years on the road. Stuff has happened to me. But yeah, let's hear your stories out there. And if you want to say, no, it's never happened to me, Jerry's alone, you could say that too. But I suspect there's a good number of people out there who've been there. So thanks everybody for listening to another episode of Command Control Power. We really appreciate your support, especially the people that show up when we randomly do a show and we get some feedback in the chat. Much appreciated. Those are our Patreon supporters. So if you're not yet a Patreon supporter, consider supporting us on Patreon and subscribing and pledging monthly, and you get access to all these live streams as well as a lot more content, shows that we do exclusively for the Patreon supporters. So consider supporting us on Patreon. Go to commandcontrolpower.com and click on support. Thank you all for listening to Command Control Power. Special thanks to the following community members whose strong monthly support has sustained us for all these years: Ryan Gowdy, CoreCompetent.com, Weldon Dodd, Kanji.io, Richard Wingfield, EnvisionDesign.net, Adam Rice, AskAdam.io, Mac Admins Podcast, podcast.macadmins.org, Tim Nyberg, TheMacGuys.com, Michael Thompson, Origin84.com, Matthew Waples, Waples.net, Tom Puls, BoxIT.tech, Jerome Potters, PITPro.nl, Steve Sorbo, MacSOS.biz, Andy Espo, CallAndy.com, and Nate Sinal, WeAreAScout.com. Thank you all very much, and thanks to our patrons at every level of support. If you enjoy the show, we really would love your support. And if you already support us and can increase your monthly pledge, we really do find that encouraging. commandcontrolpower.com and click support. Thanks very much for listening and for supporting the show.
Jerry does his voices of customers of all kinds.
Am I on the cloud?
Joe spins his deeply detailed yarns all the time.
I have a whole story about this.
Sam is on the road again, phoning in from a hotel.
At least we know where I am.
Half a century